The referee calls it a day just 13 seconds into the added on time of the 5 minutes. He's played 13 seconds over, and Defence Force, they have done it here by 3-1.
History makers in the TTPFL, last year's league champions Defence Force outlasted this year's winners AC Port of Spain and have now become the first team to win back-to-back knockout crowns in the Pro Football League era. Defence Force were crowned champions of the First Citizens Knockout Cup after defeating AC Port of Spain by 3-1 at the Hasely Crawford Stadium on Wednesday night. Technical Secretary of AC Port of Spain, Gilbert Bato, shared his thoughts on the performance of the Capital Boys.
Disappointing, yes. We didn't stick to the plan, but credit to Defence Force. They came out and they showed the hunger, and that is probably just the difference within it. We started to do it maybe too late in the game.
Well, Defence Force head coach Lloyd Andrews was filled with gratitude.
Well, we wanted to be the first to do the double. I want to thank the Lord, for keeping us healthy and giving us this victory. Thank the men, thank the chief of his staff and his team, and all the staff members. Just want to say thanks.
Must feel good. Well, Port of Spain were undone by the boot of forward Isaiah Leacock, who traded the red and black of AC earlier in the season for the yellow and blue of Defence Force, and his hat-trick made the difference for his new employers.
Well, the feeling is amazing. And against my former team, it really feels good. Well, the team that put me on the market is AC Port of Spain, and I just transfer over to Army to get a better playing time and stuff like that.
All right, we're here to review. Okay, so we're set to be joined by Colin Murray, who will be talking to us. He was on commentary duties, but in the meantime, team, as we await him, some goals there from, of course, Leacock. I rewatched the match earlier today to, of course, ensure that I got a proper view of each of the goals. Top stuff, and I mean doing it against your former team. We just heard from Isaiah Leacock saying, well, they put me up on the market. I went to Defence Force and I got them another title.
I tell you something, it's difficult to score a hat-trick in a normal league game, much less to do it in a championship match. Not only because, well, when you get to a championship match, you expect that the quality of the opposition is going to be of such that it makes it difficult for any one player to score 3 goals, but also the pressure associated with a championship match. So a brilliant performance from Leacock to get that hat-trick, and lead Defence Force, who would be extremely happy to get this knockout title, because remember, they failed to successfully defend the league title, finished 4 points behind the eventual champion. So to finish the season with silverware, I'm sure quite massive for them.
Yeah, and the fact is that we see a bit of a huge rivalry developing here between Defence Force and AC Port of Spain, because since competitive domestic football has restarted in TNT at this level, these two teams have been sharing the titles.
Yeah, and remember that Defence Force denied AC Port of Spain the league title last season on the final day.
That's right.
And here they are again denying them the knockout title. So you are right, Lance, quite a lovely rivalry developing, but it seems as if head-to-head in these big matches, it's Defence Force who is finding themselves on the winning side of things.
Right. Well, team, to join us now to talk a bit more about this matchup is football commentator Colin Murray, and he was in all the action. Good afternoon, Colin. Welcome to the SportsMax Zone. How are you?
I am excellent. Thank you very much. It's great to be on the zone. Great night last night. The Defence Force again proving that they're champions. They're a difficult team to beat when the going gets tough. And as I say, and when the going gets tough, they get going.
Yeah.
And AC Port of Spain had absolutely no answer to them last night.
Right, and Colin, you were spot on from the opening comments for the match. You said that you felt as if Defence Force was going to get this one done. They did that, but Were you certain in any way that Isaiah Leacock would come to the party and in the manner in which he did?
Absolutely not. He's been a revelation, actually. He started with AC Port of Spain and was among the goals. And kudos to Defence Force. They decided, look, this is the man they want to put away the balls into the back of the net. They had Brent Sam, and Brent Sam can probably get into any team in the league. But Isaiah Leacock came into the team. Brent Sam had gone for a little stint into Vietnam. Wasn't very successful and came back to Trinidad. But by the time he was back, Isaiah Leacock had already established himself as the real weapon up front. He's a different type of player to Brent Sam. As you could see, he makes these darting little runs and gets into positions just ahead of the defenders or on the behind the defenders. Brent Sam is a different type of player. He holds up the ball. He's a big player. They play the ball airborne to him, and he tends to hold it up and lay it off. Isaiah Leacock is a different player. He makes the runs, he makes these darted runs, and he's got a very good left foot. As you can see, once you give him a little room, he takes on the goalkeepers and he's successful. I mean, for this man to get a hat-trick in the semi-final and then come in the final and get another hat-trick, I mean, he is one you have to look at in the future. And I'm sure Anglesey is closing in on him because he knows where the goal is. And that's what you call a top-notch striker.
Yeah, and you know, Colin, I'd love to hear your assessment of Coach Andrews, because in that post-match interview, he was, of course, beaming with excitement, and rightfully so. He said we wanted to be the first to do the double, and they did it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, the thing about it, when you look at that Defence Force team, and, you know, before the game, as I said, I was backing Defence Force. And when I say backing them, I think they were hurting. They were hurting that they lost the league title. And AC Port of Spain just never had an answer. The thing about it, I thought tactically they played a wonderful game as well. They did their homework. I don't think AC Port of Spain did their homework. But Defence Force knew that the engine room of that AC Port of Spain team was the midfield. When you talk of Muckett, Rochford, Puna Angeron, in the middle, once they closed down that middle, they were going backwards. They never were playing forward passes. And you have to give Defence Force a lot. They brought Keller into the lineup as well. Now, he tends to be a defensive midfielder with Goddard. But once you saw Goddard and Keller in that midfield, you knew that they were not going to give any room at all to the AC Port of Spain team. And the first goal, for example, came when the ball was played to Muckett in the midfield, and they were on him like a train. And what he did was play the ball back, an errant pass, and it created the first goal. So, you know, Defence Force they were, I mean, tactically, you could not have asked for a better game from them. And as I said, they obviously were hurting because they lost their league title. You know, and Defence Force, they are a dangerous team when they're on the hunt.
Yeah. Colin, I want to ask you about the overall quality of the tournament, though, not just the knockout, but the league phase as well, because we've been, throughout the Caribbean, anticipating the resuscitation of Trinidad and Tobago's football, because TNT are a powerhouse in regional football, and we know the difficulties you've had in the past 4 or 5 years. Can you give me a rating, 1 out of 10, 10 being the best, at the quality that you saw this domestic season in TNT?
I think, you know, it's difficult for me to give you a rating, and I'll tell you why. I think it's unfortunate. We've got about 4 or 5 teams that I would rate, say 8. Maybe Defence Force and AC Port of Spain and Police, just about 8, 8.5. And then you've got Rangers, who were a disappointment this season. I would say they're about maybe 6, 6.5, and together with Club Sandu. But the problem we face is the latter half. The bottom 5 or 6 teams are just not cutting it at the moment. The quality is not there. The tactical awareness is not there. The organization in terms of setting up defensively is not there. And I think the bottom teams, I would say they're below 5 at the moment. And somehow they have now got to try and get up there with the likes of the AC Port of Spain and these teams. And it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a while. You know, I'm looking at Club Sando, I'm looking at Rangers, I'm looking maybe at Point Fortin Civic to turn the corner. But it's not going to happen overnight, you know, and they've got to try and in terms of the development process, I think they've got to get more into the younger guys coming in, do a lot more coaching, do a lot more technical work with a lot of the clubs outside of the top 3. Yeah. I think Defence Force, AC Port of Spain, Police can basically hold their own against anybody in the Caribbean. You know, I still think there's a lot of work to be done with those 3 teams, you know, especially defensively, both with AC Port of Spain and to a lesser extent with Police. I think Defence Force, they all around, they're not a bad team. Yeah. I would like to see a little bit more creativity maybe in their midfield. Yes. But they to me, is easily the best of the teams. And quality-wise, they're about an 8. Yeah. An 8.5.
Yeah, Moran and Ricardo, we want to get another comment from Colin regarding the comments he just made regarding the fact that, well, essentially what he just said is that the bottom teams are pulling down the quality of the league, because he did suggest that the top teams are pretty solid, but the teams that are not very good are diluting the overall quality of the team. And of course, he was recently elected first vice president of the TTFA, with Kyron Edwards being the new president. So interesting that he's not just a commentator at the moment, but he can address in a couple of minutes from now TNT's football overall. Yeah, and interestingly, we speak about the bottom half, but Central FC still got to the semi-finals of the knockout, although they had a horrible run in the league. I think they went 18 games without a win at the start of the league.
Right, yeah, because remember their goal difference.
I don't think they won a game, even when it ended.
Yeah, I don't think they won a game, because we read it out to Brent when he was on, and we were looking at the goal difference and all those different things.
Yeah, I can just do a quick check. I don't think they won a game.
I think Colin is telling us something.
Yeah, Colin, did Central actually end up with any wins in the league? He'll tell us in a pretty short while, but I seem to think I know for sure that they got a surprise draw against a top team. I can't remember if it was Defence Force or Port of Spain.
They finished with 2 points.
They finished with 2 points, so they got 2 draws.
Yes.
Yes, so I remember them breaking their losing streak, which was in the teens, with a draw against like either Defence Force, AC Port of Spain, or
one of the top teams.
It was one of the top teams. So that was that showed that at least they were, they had the potential to improve.
Yeah, but it also shows you like how knockout football can be slightly different sometimes, because they were having a horrific season, and then the knockout competition comes and they find a way to get all the way to the last 4. And we often see that across various leagues and tournaments, unfancied teams making deep runs.
Like the Champions League.
Yeah, but Brent Sancho, or football analyst,
maybe more like the FA Cup,
who had, been a part of the Central FC program initially, did make the point that they were rebuilding, but their rebuilding process was starting completely from young players. Okay. And there wasn't that, experience to sort of keep the team competitive. They were just going head on into a new young team and building them. So the suggestion was that they needed time to develop their skills at this level, because they were pretty young players who were challenging more seasoned campaigners.
But I take the point that he made, though, because when you look at the gap in the points, point standing, Central FC, of course, ending an entire season with 2 points. That speaks volumes because it dilutes the competitiveness of a competition like this.
Yeah, it does. I think Colin is back with us. Colin, a quick comment on Central FC because we were talking about how poorly they did in the league itself and ended up being, in the conversation at least in the knockout.
They were, one word, they were horrible. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. Organizationally, they were terrible in defense. They lost a couple of their better players. The AC Port of Spain transferred Nathan Lewis. But they were they were lucky in terms of the draw. They got 3 tier 2 teams right up until the quarterfinals.
Okay.
And that's what knockout football is. You get the luck of the draw. And they just happened to win the tier 2 teams, which was unfortunate. And the thing about the tier 2 teams is that they didn't play the better tier 2 teams. They played those that finished 6th, 7th, 8th. Again, they also got a good draw. But Central FC were not in it, and it's unfortunate. They've got a lot of homework to do if they want to come back into tier 1 football because they're just making up numbers. And, I'm not sure what is going to happen with the club. There is an executive member on the TTFA that is a director of Central, and I haven't had a word with it yet as to what they're going to do. But it's a pity because, they've got 1 or 2 players that aren't bad. But, the entire quality of the team is not good. And that's the big problem. I mean, you go through an entire season. And the thing is, the 2 games they drew with AC Port of Spain, don't ask me how, and they also drew with Rangers. But they lost every other game. And in some games, they were absolutely hammered. I think the confidence wasn't there. There were a lot of wrong things about them. Even how they organized themselves defensively, they were poor. And I'm not sure what is going to happen to them come next season.
Yeah, Colin, if you could put on your VP hat for a second and just get back to the point about the lower half of the league diluting the quality of the competition and speak to us about what the National Association can do in assisting to ensure that those teams in the lower half of the table get up to the standard that you would like to see of top flight football teams in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah, well, it's something we're gonna look at. There's no doubt about it. I mean, we're talking at the moment about the number of teams that take part in Tier 1. You have 11 teams. Samoa Jablote is most likely going to come back. That will make it 12. If W Connection wants to come back in, that will make it 13. We're talking now about teams not on a bye because every week a team is on a bye and the teams complained about that. So we're looking at an even number. Now, do we go with 14 teams in Tier 1? We don't have 14 teams of that quality. So it's something we have to look at. Do we go into a 3-tier system, Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3, and have relegation and promotion? Those are some of the things we have to look at because we want to start back the league sometime in September. So it's a situation where we've got to sit down, look at the number of teams we have, look at the quality of the players that are competing, especially in the lower half. I think the top 5, top 6 are pretty good and pretty even on their respective day. They can each beat one another. But my problem, as I said, is the bottom half of the league. Do we decide that, look, maybe just 6 teams do like the Scottish League, play each other 4 times and improve the quality, or do we go to 8 teams? It's something we have to discuss, and it is going to come up shortly for discussion at the executive level.
Yeah, Colin, given that you said that you want to restart the league in about September, decisions like those sound as if they would need to be made within the next 30 days to me.
Oh yeah, for sure. We do have a board meeting card for later this week, and sorry, for next week. and certain decisions like that is going to come on the table. Because as you rightly said, you're talking we are at the end of May. If we want to start this league back in September, it's not going to give teams much chance to organize themselves, training, etc. But again, that has all been things on the cards. Nothing confirmed yet to decide when we're going to do it, as well as the amount of teams that we're gonna look at in Tier 1.
Yeah, all right, Colin Murray, thanks very much for joining us on the SportsMax Zone, and I'm pretty sure that we'll be chatting again soon.
Okay, guys, thank you very much.
Yeah, Colin Murray there, commentator as Defence Force, went back-to-back in the knockout in Trinidad and Tobago last night with a win over AC Port of Spain. And Lance and Mariah, it is a conversation that's not just in Trinidad and Tobago. It's a conversation that's here in Jamaica as well, relating to the number of teams that should be contesting the top flight.
Yeah.
Here in Jamaica, it's at 14. There are those who believe that the number should be 10. There are those who believe that 12 is okay.
Yeah.
But based on what Colin has explained to us in terms of the quality that they saw in the Trinidad and Tobago League this season, 11, 12, which they could go up to, or even 13, seems too much in my estimation, because as far as I'm concerned, it really comes down to whether you have the resources to get 12, 13 teams up to the level that will make the league competitive. And if you don't have the resources, then it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there, Ricardo, because I remember the PFJL boss, Chris Williams himself, was talking about bringing up that same point about, if we don't have the resources here in Jamaica, then why have so many teams? To make up numbers?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, Antigua and Barbuda, one of the other top regional domestic leagues, has I think 16 teams in their Premier League.
That's
but
a lot.
but they also have a lot of players from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Lucia, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, Cubans in their league. So they have beefed up their player roster with non-nationals. So maybe, in a manner of speaking, that could justify 16 teams for them in Antigua and Barbuda.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's go to a break. We'll be back with more on the SportsMax Zone. Lance is going to be at his favorite place after this.